welcome to the Big Four. I'm Austin.
He's back. And I'm Grayson.
And I'm Jake.
Yeah, and I'm Ricky. I'm still here, unfortunately.
Wow, talking to your mic, guys.
Yeah,
Hey, I don't know what you want from me, dude.
we just want you to be happy.
Yeah, y'all aren't contributing to that at all, though, so that's the problem.
Jeez.
So, Austin, we missed you last week.
Really?
That's weird.
Hey,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I didn't miss it. I got to talk about basketball for like 50 minutes. That was pretty good. on my
More
part.
like 55.
Yeah, honestly, I think we briefly mentioned one thing. I don't even remember what it was.
All I can say is if Austin was there last week, I could have found an XLR way faster than I ended up finding one.
I am very talented.
Yeah.
No, you just know what stuff looks like.
Actually, however, the problem with that is we would have had Jake on the show before the 20-minute mark, and I don't think that would have improved the quality that much. So.
It's true. We probably would have lost all 0 of our viewers. You know what I mean?
Anyway, have a happy Valentine's Day, one guy that
Thank
watches
you.
the show.
Ricky, will you be my Valentine? Okay, I'll just take that as a no.
No, because
All
I
right.
don't know if I'm busy tonight or not. I don't know if you're busy tonight.
I'm going away.
Yeah,
Speaking
see, that's
of,
what I thought. See, you're literally
He's going
just,
to Richmond.
prank asking me out.
He's going to a brewery tonight.
Speaking of Valentine's
What is
Day,
that,
I want to
guys?
talk about my Valentine.
You come too. You just don't
Who's
drink.
your Valentine?
Paul George.
Paul George.
Paul
is
George
your
is my
Valentine?
Because I think mine's probably Luca this year, if I'm being
You're
honest.
stealing Jake's man.
Luca's man crush every day.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Actually, no, you can have Luca. It's all good.
Who's more of a man crush than Luka Doncic right now? For you.
For me, it's my all-time favorite player, man.
Is it Pascal Siakam?
Yo, Pascal went off last night, though. Did you see that guy?
You got MVP
I'm
chance.
I'm so hyped for what he's turning into. I know. I'm sorry. It just keeps drooping. I don't know what you want from me. I
Got
can't
terrible mic etiquette.
What?
Oh,
I don't have terrible mic etiquette.
somebody
This mic has
has
terrible
worse
etiquette, dude.
mic etiquette than me.
This
No,
mic doesn't know how
I
to
said he
behave.
has terrible. I didn't say it's worse than Jake.
Oh.
That's impossible.
Wow. Okay.
All right, somebody start talking about something.
wanted to talk
Yeah,
about
Yo.
that's what I'm
Valentine.
saying. He wants to talk about PG-13.
Well, I mean, I
Go
don't
for
know
it, my
about-
son.
Let's talk about
I
how
don't know
he's
anything. Ricky can talk about him.
he's finally ascending into
Yeah,
that MVP category.
It's actually unreal that PG-13 is hitting a gear that we didn't really know he had. But honestly, it's sort of, I guess maybe it should have been obvious because he's shown the potential to be it in a sense. But like just at a lower level. That's the thing. It's like he's actually, we've never really seen him put it all together like this before.
It's true. It took him a while. Took him a leg injury, but you know what? He's here, and I'm here for it.
I don't know if the leg injury had much to do with it.
I think it actually derailed his ascension to an extent because that postseason before that injury, he that Pacer team almost beat the Heat.
Yeah,
You know
they
what I
played
mean?
him 7 games back-to-back years, right?
Behind him, like that's the thing is like it was like I'm not going to discredit David West and Grant Hill and the rest of the crew,
Or Hibbert.
but Paul George was the real catalyst behind that.
Yeah, because he was actually he served as an actual foil for LeBron James because he was someone that
Exactly.
could guard him and actually showed potential to match him on the offensive side.
Yeah, and like speaking of his defense, we've all known what a good defender he is. But when Roberson went down, and because when Roberson was healthy, he was always kind of taking the number one defensive assignment, just because he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And when Roberson went down, that moved to Paul George. And it kind of, I don't want to say exposed him because he's a great defender, but I think his numbers might have been a little elevated because he was guarding the second best player rather than the first player.
Yeah.
But this season, his defense is unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
He's
definitely.
I think it's not even a question whether or not he's the best two-way player in the game right now, this year.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'd say he's
And he's going up against the
top
best
2
offensive players in the
definitely,
NBA.
not top 1. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. Actually, Paul George is putting up crazy numbers.
I think he's averaging like 41 points over the
last few games. Hold on.
like over a week. Like I
Yeah.
think during Russ's triple-double streak, he's averaging like 41 points or something.
It's actually just unreal. I wonder what the stats are for number of points that Russell Westbrook's assisted on.
So
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
in the 55 games that Paul George has played, he's averaging 28 points a game. This is rounding up. He's averaging 8 total rebounds. He's averaging 4 assists a game.
Which is a 3-point percentage?
His 3-point percentage this season is
41.3. That's really good
41.
on 9.5 attempts a game, which is also
he's
a
shooting a lot.
ton.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just his previous career high for points a game is 23.7. He had that in 2016, his last year with Indiana. But I think the biggest thing is he's a really complete offensive player now. Whereas the previous thing on him was he was a good athlete before the injury and he had some shooting stroke, but didn't really like push himself with the volume like he is now. You know, his previous career high for threes in a game is for threes in a game for a season average is 7.7 last year, right? So for him to be pushing himself like this, which I think in part of is understanding like the necessity of what he has to do playing next to Russell Westbrook, or considering Russ is a terrible shooter, he sort of has to make up for it. But to see him actually be more efficient with the increased volume is really that's rare, especially considering like the actual drastic increase in efficiency.
And looking at the success of this team, it's a similar combination with Durant and Westbrook. Not to say that Paul George is a better scorer than Durant, because he's not. Durant's the best scorer that I've ever seen. But it's a different Westbrook too. With letting Paul be Paul. Westbrook, granted, he'll still take 20 shots a game, but he'll pass it. He'll kind of let George run the show. If George is hot, he'll let him do it. Whereas, like, you don't see that feud that he had with Durant playing. Now, if you want to call it to Westbrook maturity or whatever, you see there's no like competition on like who has the ball. They just play so well together, and it helps that Paul George is playing the best basketball of his life, and Westbrook arguably is too.
Yeah, I think Westbrook's actually finally playing within himself a little bit more for the first time since definitely since before Durant left.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think he's actually sort of understanding that he can't really play like that with Paul George, and also because he understands that Paul George is very beneficial to him because he covers for a lot of the things that he sort of can't do, right?
And Westbrook's offense can only take the Thunder so far. I think he's realizing that he can help them win games in more aspects other than scoring.
And that's the thing is like I think him finally realizing that is one of the biggest impetuses for him actually sort of playing like more within himself, and not. I mean, he's still going to force some shots, but it's like they don't have that many actually functional scorers on the team now.
He's still putting up. Westbrook's still putting up Westbrook numbers. He's still stuffing. He's still stat stuffing.
But it's the scoring.
He's
that's
averaging
down.
21 points a game, which is down, but he's averaging 11 rebounds and 11 assists a game.
Which I know assists leads the NBA.
Right, and so his field goal percentage this season is 43%.
And honestly, like when you look at his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, it's not far off from his career averages.
His 3-point percentage is 24 on the season, so
3-point is low.
but that's never been his skill set anyway.
And his field goal percentage is not far off from his career average.
Mm-hmm.
The most jarring thing is his free throw percentage.
Yeah, his free throw percentage is not good this year. 65.
Paul George's free throw percentage is 85.
Yeah, Paul George is a good free throw shooter. Paul George is a good shooter outright.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like he's actually making a really serious push for MVP here, which is absurd to think about considering.
Especially at how late it came in the season.
Yeah.
Where that push really started.
I think Giannis has been better over the course of the year, but Paul George hit a higher peak, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And and
it's coming at the right time.
It's definitely coming at the right time.
And it helps that both teams are good.
Yeah.
Like Giannis having the Bucks having the best record in the NBA helps Giannis's case, but the Thunder jarring for the top seed in the West also helps PG's case.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject, real quick, before Austin wants to spill his guts out on the Nuggets.
We also have to talk about James Harden as well. Not talk about him, but also those are your 3 MVPs.
Yeah, that's basically. I don't think anyone else is really in contention right now.
Carry on.
No, yeah, James Harden.
I feel like everyone already knows that.
That's just kind of like a default at this point.
Yeah, I feel like
we're the entire year.
We're like in the mid 2000s at this point, and we're just having James Harden in for Kobe. Where it's like every year he is in MVP contention because he's doing.
And he should be. He should be.
Yeah, he's averaging 36.6 this year.
Yeah.
But today. Markieff Morris agreed to sign with the Thunder, which I like a lot. I think it's a great move to help the second unit.
Honestly, really surprised because I don't think there were actually there were 3 teams that got mentioned for having interest in Markieff Morris, and I don't remember if the Thunder were actually among them.
Dude, Sam Presti can pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Yeah, I think Sam Presti is honestly one of the most underappreciated GMs of the last 10 years because he did a great job drafting the original Thunder core, the Harden, Westbrook, Durant trio. And it's like he got a lot of flack, and the Thunder got a lot of flack for kind of rightly letting Harden walk. But outside of that, he's been incredibly competent. I think they've only missed the playoffs once in the last 10 years after they really not after 2011. They've only missed the playoffs once after 2011, I believe, and that was the first year Durant left. I could be wrong.
No, I think they made the playoffs as a 6th seed, and they lost in the first round.
Was that that was the series against the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They lost in 5 games.
Yeah. That's right. That was a really wild series. Sorry, my bad. But it's like just Sam Presti's ability to actually keep the team relevant despite the market size. If you're using that as
and he drafts well, and he does really well in free agency.
He develops talent well too, for the most part.
On top of
it's just like the ability for players to play well next to Westbrook is the biggest issue, and I think that a lot of people were using Oladipo and Sabonis as sort of like an anti-Westbrook evidence or example because of how well they played since they left Oklahoma City and went to Indiana. And I think it's instead not necessarily that Westbrook strangles or I guess inhibits the ability for young players to develop, but instead just the fit next to them necessarily
Yeah, I think
and
Westbrook's a
natural
good
development.
teammate. It just doesn't. You're right. It's development, but
Because I
Yeah.
mean, we saw a whole lot of evidence about all the work that Oladipo put in the offseason, and he actually drastically tried to shift the way his game was. Because coming out of Indiana, he is not the player he was supposed to be.
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean, this is way better than what he was supposed to be coming out of Indiana, if we're being honest. But
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was what I was gonna mention, was just talking about that trade and how on paper we all thought like, oh, this is terrible, and then for a while there it was like, wow, Indiana got a steal, and now it's seemingly more even.
yeah, I
Than
think
I ever would have thought it would.
both teams won probably.
Yeah,
They got an actual.
it's a surprisingly fair trade.
Yeah,
in the NBA.
Yeah, honestly, considering the return for when you trade a superstar is generally going to be really low, that they managed to get what looks like a potential superstar on their own for Depot,
Mhm.
and then an actual other like key role player in Sabonis with a lot of upside in his own right. I think it's just says a lot about what Kevin Pritchard can pull off as a GM.
all right, Austin, do you want to go?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
So
I'm just talking about how much I love the Nuggets.
Yeah, yeah.
You
There you
literally
go.
were just watching Nuggets highlights for like the 5th time.
That is not true. It's only the second.
I know, but you're gonna
Yeah,
end
but
up
how long is the
watching them
video?
5 times.
It's 9 minutes. It's not ridiculous.
You spent like 18 minutes watching Nuggets highlights today alone.
9.5. So. We'll
Okay,
say
so 19 minutes. Okay.
I don't feel like it's the
Well,
last time
I
he's
watched
gonna
I
watch
watched
them,
some
though.
things on Twitter's too, so
Oh,
we'll
it's
round it
prob-
up to like 25.
Yeah, 25. Okay, all right.
wow,
And now you just have nothing to say.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to talk
Absolute-
about the Nuggets. Isaiah
absolute
Thomas made
best
his
fan.
Paul Millsap had a hell of a game.
yeah. Isaiah Thomas made his debut last night.
He scored 8 points in 13 minutes of play, and I know now that his number of career blocks, which I shared with you too.
Yeah,
earlier.
you want to say it on air for the fans?
It's 49.
It's a lot for someone who's like 5'8".
You know his season high? Anyone know?
I
Not
mean-
you two who I told. So Jake, do you know his season high blocks?
Jake, don't go googling his season high for
No.
blocks. Come on,
You wanna
Jake.
take a shot. Take a guess. His career is 49. So
5? I don't
it's
know.
13.
13.
How dare you lowball him like that?
Gotta have some respect
Respect
for him,
his-
dude.
Oh,
He's an athlete.
We like Isaiah Thomas. Do you like Isaiah Thomas?
I don't have any problems with Isaiah
What's wrong,
Thomas.
Isaiah
doesn't
Thomas?
like
Come on, man.
Isaiah Thomas, the new IT 0 as his Nuggets number.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He has an extra A in his name.
Yeah.
One
Did you
more
just
A.
recently learn that?
Yes. One more. I'm not gonna lie. When I first started watching basketball, I was like, "Wow, is that his son?" But it's another A, Jake.
I don't think he's the only
It-
person to make that mistake.
There is another A in the new Isaiah Thomas's name. Are you looking at his blocks?
No, he's looking at all the jerseys he's worn over his NBA
So
career.
I was looking at
It's
that.
a pretty
are,
good
you
amount.
On, are you on Basketball Reference?
Yeah, he's literally there
was.
right now.
He wears 0 now. IT 0. It's the rebrand, the rebirth.
What?
You find anything good? It's career totals, dude. Scroll down. There's a second bar.
Man,
Hold on, guys.
There's a whole nother.
we went from a sports show to an informational show about how to browse Basketball Reference efficiently.
Listen, Basketball Reference it's ridiculous.
Anything reference is awesome.
Could you imagine getting blocked by Isaiah Thomas?
I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't have to try that hard to block you.
I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying. Like, no, I would have to. It'd be me blocking you.
No, because he's a way better athlete than you are.
You haven't seen me on the floor.
Yeah, what's
first
your vert?
Of all.
What's your vert?
I don't know. I mean,
Isaiah,
I can- I can-
Isaiah Thomas is at
about-
least 7 feet tall.
I
When he jumps.
touched 9.5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Isaiah Thomas might be able to dunk.
Oh, he can. He's dunked.
Wow, great. See, proving my point for me. I'm pretty sure he could dunk.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, but I'm just saying.
I'm gonna say Isaiah Thomas is at least a marginally better athlete than my guy Jake Lepkowski over here.
But Paul Millsap was back and he looked good too. He's
Yeah,
been back
how
for
did
like 2 or 3
how did
games.
Millsap finish last night?
25 points, I believe.
That's pretty good, man.
It is pretty darn good.
Okay, he's no Spud Webb, but he's
Wow,
got ups.
okay. All right, bro.
He's no
Alright.
spud.
What about Nate?
Yeah, he's no Nate Robinson either. Nate Robinson's a 3-time dunk contest champion.
Back to
so,
back to back.
Yeah.
Gotta have some respect for the
Paul
guy.
Millsap last night. What you said earlier about it. Finally, he's on a good team. I
Like an
mean,
actually good team, not a fake
yeah.
good team.
fake good team. I'm trying to look at this. Can't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
How he finished last night. I'm trying to look
Okay.
at his box score.
So this is your first year on the Nuggets bandwagon, right? You watched their game last night. They beat Sacramento. It was a pretty close game.
Yes. I watched
Obviously,
the
considering they
highlights
had a buzzer beater
twice.
from Jokic.
Yes.
So
Is
they're beating
it-
Tippin, I believe. Well, not
He got his
necessarily.
own rebound with a
Yeah,
little tip.
yeah. It was a
It was like a
0.3
2-finger tip.
0.3 seconds left. Not quite a buzzer
Yep.
beater, but you get the idea. So the Kings have been one of the more pleasant surprises this year. I think we talked about that on the show last week, right? After they traded for Harrison Barnes.
Yes.
I don't know. I know this isn't necessarily in the notes, but the Western Conference all the way through is even somehow deeper than we thought it was,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
and that's actually kind of surprising considering it's just been. I don't know. There's like 10 teams in playoff position right now, and they're all pushing 500. Whereas I think the number 6 team in the East is barely 500.
yeah, I mean, to
The
be
East
fair,
is very top heavy.
The East
To
is
be-
really top heavy.
To be
East is very
fair,
suck.
to be fair,
That's not true.
The
Come on.
cutoff in the West is 12th.
Yeah, really. We're putting
is
the, yeah, I guess
12th.
Timberwolves are in
Is 12th absolutely?
Yeah.
While over on the East, the cutoff is 6th.
there. Yeah,
So that's literally double the amount of contenders in the West as opposed.
you could
to
say the
Eastern
cutoff is 5
Conference.
even.
I mean, I like the Nets.
Yeah, the
so
Nets
I'm
are. I
gonna
like
put
the Nets too.
in.
But
They
I
at
don't
least
know.
have
It's just
30
really weird. When
wins.
looking at the Western Conference standings, the team that really stands out to me actually was Minnesota because they didn't do anything at the trade deadline somehow.
Oh, I know.
They were actually somehow completely silent at the trade
Are
deadline.
they still just riding?
It was
the
a
Rose
crazy
wave?
trade deadline.
Incredibly, I hope not. That's not
Yeah.
sustainable. That doesn't
No,
feel
no, I
sustainable to
agree.
me. I
It's
don't know
not
what their plan
sustainable.
is. They didn't.
It
move-
must be. I mean, it has to be Rocco.
For them. It felt like they had to move Wiggins, right? Because he's the really. It's not a great. I don't know. It's just it's sketchy. I don't think it's a good contract for them. Like I'm kind of high on Wiggins, but I feel like you got to move him at this point because it just doesn't look like it's going to work out.
Not a fan of baby LeBron.
Paul
Maple
Millsap
Jordan.
Maple Jordan.
Had
Get that out of here.
13 rebounds last night.
Yeah, he's a good rebounder for a small
This
forward.
guy. I mean,
He plays
okay,
small forward?
so
He's a power forward.
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
you
Okay.
got Jeff Teague, Jeff Okogie,
Josh Okogie.
Josh
come on.
Okogie, excuse me, Andrew Wiggins, Taj Gibson, and Carl Anthony Towns. They
Wow.
have decent depth too.
They have pretty alright depth.
Tyus Jones, Derrick Rose, Luol Deng, Dario Saric, Gordy Jang,
Rocco
Anthony
4th on the depth
Tolliver.
chart.
Rocco.
What's going on with Rocco? Someone Google Rocco. Is he hurt?
I don't know, but this team is not. I mean, this team's not ideal either, but they're not bad. per
No, that's the
se.
thing. It really seemed peculiar to me for an era of teams that are actually sort of embracing tanking for them to just stay pat at the trade deadline and not do anything.
Isn't it Flip Saunders' son that's now the new coach?
Yeah,
there?
Ryan Saunders is the
Ryan
coach.
Saunders? That's
But
cool.
to watch Memphis trade Marcus All at the trade deadline, like they understand that their timeline has to
I'm
be
surprised they
more
didn't move Conley.
forward reaching. Yeah, I was surprised too. They kept him because they felt like his value as
They
a veteran
feel-
leader was really good
Yeah, as I said,
and
they feel
worthwhile
like
for
that-
Jaren Jackson.
that-
But,
yeah,
I mean,
the leadership.
honestly, like when you, I think, especially the Gasol trade, but I think it happened a few years too late.
Yeah, I feel
think now when you look at what they would get back for Conley, I guess you're right with the veteran presence being more valuable than what they could have gotten.
that's
out
what
of
they
a trade.
think. I know I wouldn't keep Conley around personally, but I guess you kind of want to have something to sell the fans on in the
Yeah.
present, right?
And especially when you're already as bad as Memphis is, you're already going to get a probably top 5 draft pick. It's good to have a Conley there, especially for a lot of young guys.
I don't know if they're gonna get a top 5 draft pick. The
They might.
the
That's
East
bad.
is really bottom heavy too. It's the Suns and a lot of East teams.
Tank for Zion.
Yeah, man.
Hey man, you know.
He's worth it. I think he's gonna be worth it. I don't know. For me, it's like for Memphis I think they would have had to have moved Conley and Gasol last year, 2 years ago, probably, as opposed to this year, and then not move Conley at all. It's just really weird. I mean, it is bizarre to see teams sort of stick to their guns, even if they're outside the playoff race. Because if I'm counting on,
Oh my
if my
gosh.
plan is to get
you-
Minnesota,
There's 5 teams who still don't have 20 wins yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you guess?
Look at that. 4 of them are in the East.
Can you guess what streak the Knicks are on right now?
Yeah.
We
I know.
talked about this
We
earlier.
talked. We were all in there.
Cheater.
We all looked in here. We talked about this when you weren't in the room.
Well, this is what
18
happens.
games. It's 18 games.
This is so annoying.
Phoenix right behind them at 15 in a row.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Phoenix
just
is
like,
nice.
I feel so left out.
You were calling your grandma. That's
I
lame.
had to talk to her.
You got pizza earlier too, dude. Come on, what are you upset about? You didn't even ask any of us if you wanted pizza. You just went and got it.
It's my normal routine.
Yeah, congratulations. You didn't invite anyone.
You have
I got a question. Is
you
this
have
your,
things to do today. You have to do your recording with D&D. What's up?
is
What's
this
up?
your grandmother who lives on the New York border, or is that your great grandmother who's a Mets fan?
They live in the same town.
Oh, who's the Mets fan?
My great grandmother.
Gotcha. What about your grandmother?
She doesn't care about sports.
Oh.
But she'll watch like Yes Network. But she'll read while I watch Yes Network.
As one does. I know I'd
Anyway,
probably read rather than watch a Yankees game, but
How was your grandmother?
She's doing well. I mean, I guess my second cousin, is pregnant with her 3rd kid. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
yeah, you know,
I'm back before.
hanging out, doing good stuff up there.
What color hat do you think the? No, it's okay.
I mean, I
Um,
don't care.
Sounds like
I mean,
you did the
I
other day.
care, but like it doesn't matter to me as long as it's healthy, right? Like that's all that matters.
You guys want to talk about the NHL a little bit before we can transition to other sports?
Yeah, let's
Anything
get
you wanna
back
talk about with
to
the NHL?
sports.
The
And
NHL?
Why don't you talk more about
Yeah,
Jake's
the
family?
NHL.
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big family. Anyway,
Yeah, it always sounds. I just hear about new people all the time.
yeah.
What are we talking about?
What's his fourth cousin?
Seattle is getting a team.
Oh, we're talking about that?
Hooray!
I mean,
Isn't
are
that
we?
like-
I don't know because
Yeah, sure.
It's on the notes. Who put it on the notes?
That's me.
that was
Well, I
yeah. You want
have
any news? Any news on the Seattle front?
Nope.
No
Just
new
happened.
news.
No news. That's it. That's it.
So
That's
why
the
is
most.
it
That's the
in
most
here?
interesting thing going on in hockey right now. Is there's an expansion team in 2 years?
No, that's not even true. The All Star game just happened.
Yeah, you got any news from that?
Sidney Crosby looked really good.
Who won MVP?
James Neal lost 8 teeth.
It was only 4.
It says 8 teeth right here.
Oh my God, he lost 8 teeth.
That
That's
is
hilarious.
incredible. Oh, because some probably got dislodged, but like not actually.
That's right.
Not actually like fully came out of his
I
mouth.
sent you guys a slow mo gif of all the.
Yeah,
teeth
I know.
just
I saw it. I
flying
can
out
only
of his
count like
face.
3.
It was
I initially thought I could see 4, but like further reviews, I can only
I
see
wonder
3.
if
So
you look back at the history of the NHL, how many full sets of teeth you could build with the amount of teeth that's been lost.
it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
No, he said full sets. Who's losing their molars?
I'm assuming someone's losing molars.
I mean,
maybe
I
you know what?
wouldn't be
Maybe not like
surprised.
recoverable molars, but
Nice uppercut.
Nice like puck to the side of the jaw.
they're probably dislodging like jaws at that
Are we
point.
counting wisdom teeth?
No.
No, those
Especially
aren't
we
even
don't
like
have
real
those
teeth,
anyway.
man. Come on.
I don't have mine out yet.
Mm.
Oof.
You're messing up.
No, my teeth grow really slowly. I don't think I lost my last tooth until I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
You want
I'm-
some good NHL news, boys?
Yeah, sure.
The Penguins are barely holding on to that last wild card spot.
So the good NHL
Also, the
news with them not
Blackhawks
making
are,
the,
like-
with them
Yeah,
be not
no,
making the playoffs.
Okay, that is good news. Or not good news. It's news.
It's news.
The Blackhawks, oh my lord.
Are really close to a wild card spot.
And they
The
were
Central is so funny to look at the standings because you have
at one point they
uh,
were the second worst team in the league.
I was gonna say, aren't the Blackhawks supposed to be terrible right now?
They were until
Feel good.
Patrick Kane
I
and
was about to say, feel good for Patty Kane.
Patrick Kane particularly has been an animal. He's been insane.
Nice.
I think
Anytime he's
the Winter
successful is
Classic
good
is
for
what
the-
did it for him.
Anytime he's successful is good for their league. So
Yeah, he's one of those players. You just
Yeah.
don't want to see him do bad. You don't want to see him
Exactly.
hurt. Taves is really, really darn good too.
Pace has been good all year.
Yeah, I mean he's always good, but he stepped it up. Chicago looks really, really good for the first time in
4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
Fire.
Also the Flyers. They
about
won
'em?
like
Gritty
won
and
like
Co.
I think 8 out of their last 9, 7 out of their last 9, or something like that.
Wow.
They're pretty close to they're getting close to that wild card too. If Pittsburgh continues to suck
Which
and then
which
Philly
is looking
continues to be on a
likely.
roll, I think the Caps might drop out of the playoffs, and then maybe Pittsburgh too.
When was the last time a Stanley Cup winner did make the playoffs the following year?
Maybe the Canes, 2003,
Yikes.
2004, 2005, 2006.
So, 05, I want to say.
Well, 5 was a lockout.
That'd be a very
03 then.
interesting. That'd be a very interesting happening for Washington.
I don't think it'll happen. I think they'll make the playoffs,
Hey,
but I
you-
think they might get in a wild card. Honestly.
Austin, you want to hear something?
Eh.
Sports tax.
Every time.
I no, I don't care.
He's not a Washington fan anymore, fellas. It's not.
Well, I am. Just not the Wizards.
Yeah, welcome to the sports tax, man.
I was never a Wizards fan.
Uh-huh.
I just watched their games.
I don't believe you. I actually, you know what? I don't believe you.
I own a shirt, but I use it as an undershirt.
All right, you guys want to do...
I wear it under a black vest because it looks good together. It pairs well,
Okay.
and it's a good sleeve length.
I absolutely don't believe you.
But on the right sleeve, there's a thread that's really loose, and I can't get it to stop, so it just keeps unraveling.
just like your team. Well,
What
your
team?
former team.
My team is doing great.
Yeah,
Thought
the,
the
the Nuggets are really
Oh,
good.
I just said the
Yeah.
former team.
Well, okay. They
No,
were
no.
not again. I
Yeah,
just watched
yeah.
the
I mean, you
games.
told me yesterday you were like they're undershirt level. So I was like, okay, well there you go.
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Fake fan, fake friend.
Fake Austin
Um,
fan.
Yeah, really.
Is there anything else in NHL besides Tampa Bay, like killing it?
Is Tampa Bay
Montreal.
Joe
looks
Thornton did
really
the
good.
thing.
Joe Thornton did do the thing.
He beat that bum Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
An
Tam-
assist or something.
You know, he's like Gordie Howe is Jake's least favorite player.
I don't even know who he is.
Did the Tampa Bay Lightning finally look at the world beaters they're supposed to be the last like 3 or 4 years?
They've looked like it for.
Well,
3
yeah,
or
but
4
are they?
years.
They look like they're actually going to do it this year, or are they still like Toronto Raptor looking as team where
I
it's like
can't say
we're
they're
waiting for
gonna
them to
do it
crumble in the
until they do
playoffs?
it.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
so the Raptors then we're skeptical until they do
need
it.
to get past the Eastern
Okay.
Conference Finals because they've been there so many times,
All right,
and they just screw it up every time.
S-
They screwed it up last year with 2 consecutive shutouts. Good lord!
that's a rip. So
Aga-
they're
against the Caps,
yeah.
the ultimate playoff crapping team.
yeah. Believe me, I know about that.
Yeah, I mean, so Tampa Bay is a whole other level.
Ready?
Literally the Raptors.
Fun to watch though. Oh, the Islanders, they're really good.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
Barry
that's
Trotz,
right. They're still good.
Barry Trotz is probably the best coach in the league. Good lord, that
Yeah,
dude's that
Definitely,
dude's talented.
absolutely the
Remember-
best defensive coach. That's for sure.
Mi-
Remember,
Mitch
remember when
Korn.
he left?
Mitch Korn,
And everyone was like, "What are you doing?"
he wanted money.
Hey,
Can't blame
he
him.
got
Mitch,
money.
Mitch Korn, he's the Islanders goaltender. He turned that team from 30th overall in goaltending tandem to number 1, I think, in like efficiency or whatever how they score it. What a jump! That Mitch Korn is a talented dude.
What an
At least I think
absolute
that's his name.
melon.
I think that's his name.
I'm glad we're googling this. We don't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Mitch
it's
Korn.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know where he was born?
Uh,
You know where
I
he
didn't
was?
put that in.
Who?
You know where he's born?
Where?
Bronx.
The Bronx.
Damn, look at
You think
that.
he's a Yankee fan?
Let's see if his Wikipedia.
All right,
says
so we're gonna start. We're gonna pivot
Let's-
off hockey. That's
I
enough
want to
hockey.
go. I want to go to the NFL.
Yeah, I wanna go to the
there's
NFL too.
There's so much more to talk about.
There's
the
some
NFL.
interesting stuff going on. So we're gonna start with probably the biggest name that got moved to be former Super Bowl MVP
Joe
Joe
Flacco.
Flacco. Yeah, he had probably one of the best runs of any quarterback in
Not Shane Falco. Joe
NFL
Flacco.
history. Yeah, Joe Flacco.
Gotta love it. I know. So we ran the numbers right. In
Yeah.
and for the last 3 seasons, in the last 3 seasons, they are practically identical
For Flacco and Keenum.
for Flacco and Keenum.
Yeah, but under very different circumstances.
And that's what I referenced in our chat. I was like, you have to look at that Minnesota team that really boosted Case Keenum's numbers.
Well, and he didn't need that godly O line that Kirk Cousins so desperately needs too, because he was a little more mobile than Kirk.
That's true. Kirk Cousins has never really been a runner.
Yeah, and
No,
and
Kirk Cousins is actually a mildly good runner. He just has kind of bad pocket awareness.
Yes, he feels so pressured all the time. Poor guy. He always looks so scared. But
He's not a really Canadian.
what
know he did.
Keenum does is really well. He just moves around the pocket well. He's
Yeah.
able to evade very well. And I think if he had a better arm, he would instantly take a massive step forward because he moves so well.
Mhm.
But he doesn't have that arm, and even when you see he gets these wide open opportunities, he just overthrows them every time because he just doesn't have that control. He never has.
Right.
I mean, he's good.
He's probably one of the better D1 college quarterbacks of all time.
I mean, he's probably top.
I mean,
He's still probably like top 25 quarterbacks playing right now.
What
we'd
a
have to-
bar.
we would have to.
What a
run-
mean,
bar.
We would
when
have to
you're
run a
when you're
list.
number 25 in the world. Okay, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I
he's
guess.
good, but he's not like he's never going to be there for your organization, especially like
Yeah.
when you need a good quarterback to make you into a playoff team when you don't have those other pieces there. But that being said, Joe Flacco's not that either. But what Joe Flacco is a better placeholder than Case Keenum.
And that's
For
exactly
a
what
fourth rounder,
this is.
that's pretty good.
It's
I'm
gonna
down
be
with it.
weird seeing him in orange.
I don't think orange is his color.
It's gonna be weird.
Definitely not. I don't know if Joe
Her-
Flacco has a color.
Purple's good on him. I think he looks good in that purple.
So, what I just saw, or what I'm reading on NBC Sports right now, is that Joe Flacco has 3 years left on his contract.
Oh yeah.
So 3 years left on his contract. That's 2 years for Trevor Lawrence
Mhm.
to finish up at Clemson, and then he has 1 year to which he can start the first 4 games, and then Trevor Lawrence comes in. That's what I'm thinking the plan is.
That's a pretty
here.
dream opportunity. I mean, you really have to tank that year before to
During-
get the number 1 pick.
During that time, Denver can boost up that O line because it's pretty bad. They
That's
have
scary.
How
That's-
much?
they have Philip Lindsay.
That's the wrong order. You need the quarterback, and then you need to build the team, because then you don't get that number 1 pick.
Fair enough. Although I still think with a decent O line, Joe Flacco's not getting the job done.
No, but I don't think he's going to be 32nd in the league.
Fair enough.
There's a difference.
But I also think that them staying stagnant isn't necessarily like teams are going to jump them.
So they win a Super Bowl this year, and then go 32nd next year.
They're not going to win a Super Bowl ever again as long as Joe Flacco's under center. So what are you talking about?
And there could be extenuating circumstances, but we won't get into it.
You know, if they nuked half the league out of existence, then they might still have a chance. But I'm still not betting on them.
Yeah.
Let's put Peyton back in.
No,
Let's put John Elway back in.
I didn't want to watch Peyton when he was winning Super Bowls with Denver.
Jeez.
Why
That was
not?
He was hideous. Are you kidding me?
What?
Did
The
you?
year they won the Super Bowl. How
Peyton Manning
bad
was
Peyton Manning
Oh, I
was.
thought you were
Talking about the Carolina
awful.
season?
I thought you were talking about his looks. I was like,
No.
Where they
he's
beat
got
Carolina?
a big forehead.
I mean,
but
yeah, I don't know. Peyton's not that great to look at, but he's
he's
not
got
terrible.
a large,
Where they
His
beat
forehead's
really
huge,
big
dude.
Hey, man.
forehead.
You
Yeah.
could land a
that
helicopter
Carolina
on
Super
his
Bowl
forehead.
was probably more entertaining than the one that we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, it doesn't
it
mean
was like 3
it was
Sundays ago.
necessarily
You,
like
do you have a concept of time?
nice.
No.
Also,
All
I
Sundays run
mentioned it last
together.
week, and you walked out of the room.
Yeah, because I don't want to talk about the
But
Patriots.
you brought it up now.
Because it's a bad game. Whatever, fella.
All right,
Get
so
rid
look,
of
I'm
it.
the only one here that's really down on them trading for Flacco, right? Y'all are kind of in favor of it.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
I
I mean,
don't
I,
care.
I
He's
wouldn't
not-
say I'm in favor.
You're paying
but,
him
like, I'm
way
fine.
too much money to sit behind Lamar Jackson.
And I do like this for
Oh
Baltimore.
no, it's
too.
great for Baltimore. It's
This
a
is
win for
Jackson's
Baltimore.
team.
Yeah.
The people they respect him more.
Right.
than
Now there's no
Flacco. That's
drama.
weird.
That's an actual. Look at it this way: in basketball, they would have had to give up picks to move Flacco because no one's taking on that contract willingly in basketball. This guy's got 3 years left at $22 million a year
What was Case
for
Keenum?
like a
What was
replacement
Case
level
Keenum
player.
getting at?
Keenum's not making nearly that much money, that's for sure.
So for this
He's-
upcoming season, Case Keenum's making $18 million.
Flacco's making like 22, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then next year Flacco will make 24.
If they
Case
make the
Keenum's
playoffs,
free agent in 2020.
they make the playoffs. It's lights out.
I'm going to tell you for free what they won't do because you're the third best team in your division by a mile. Is make the playoffs.
Right. I think the AFC is
The AFC North has 3 potential playoff
pretty
teams. The
top-heavy.
AFC West has 2. The AFC South has
4.
Wait, how many?
3.
AFC North. How many did
4?
you say it has?
3.
Are you putting Cleveland up
Yeah,
there?
I'm putting Cleveland up there.
Yeah, I
No.
would. You're putting
Yo,
Baltimore up there.
Freddie cooking, man.
All I'm saying is that
I'm not sure if I'd put Pittsburgh there.
Pittsburgh's the one where I'm not sure about.
Ooh.
Funnily enough,
Yeah.
I'm really not
Yeah.
sold on the Steelers. But
AFC South,
It's a
you
fair
have.
thing.
Antonio Brown's requesting a
I'm
trade,
telling
man.
you,
I'm
the
not
AFC
sold.
South has all 4 potentially.
really
can
don't
get
think so.
in. I'm
You
being
have the
honest
Jags?
with you. Yeah. What are you talking about? The Jags are just in the AFC Championship last season or the season before this past one.
I said that too. I was a big Bortles stan.
I'm
Well,
not a
that
Bortles
was-
stan either.
Bad hole to die on.
Hey, but you know
who's
looking at
starting
Nick
under center?
Foles?
Hmm?
Jacksonville.
Oh,
They could
okay.
potentially get
That's
Nick
true.
Foles.
If they
That'd be a
get-
game changer. I
they
got a
get-
lot of trust in Nick.
They're actually built for each other, I think. Honestly,
I mean,
RPO.
they got to make it happen
RPO,
first.
RPO,
fellas.
RPO.
I don't know.
Nick
Kind
Foles
of.
is so good.
Now that you brought it up, I really want to see that.
All right, yeah, I'm down.
But
with
yeah,
it.
no.
Okay,
Honestly,
I'd
Denver's
give it
not.
3.
Denver's not making the playoffs, and that's my problem.
Who's that other AFC?
You got Tennessee, Houston,
Oh,
Indiana,
Tennessee.
or
Oh,
Indianapolis.
Tennessee.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the Titans
Tennessee
are
beat New
unfortunately
England.
pretty good.
Or no, they didn't. Well, they almost beat New. No,
Yes,
No,
they did. They
yeah, they beat
actually,
New
they
England.
actually
New England.
for real beat the New England Patriots
Yeah.
last year somehow.
And Mariota,
that was the self-pass touchdown.
Mariota something else,
he does catch his own passes. It's pretty impressive.
and the AFC East has 1 playoff team.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Dude. Maybe
Sit down.
there's a chance.
No, shut up.
It's
There's a
really
chance.
bad.
We have
There's-
We have a bigger chance than the other 2 teams behind us.
Sam Darnold's pretty good.
I actually think Miami has a better
He's
chance than the
not.
Bills.
He is not.
I actually, unironically, think that the Dolphins have a better chance than the
I
Bills.
think it depends
You're
on where
wrong.
Bell and
Cool.
Brown go, but whatever.
You think what?
It depends on where Brown and Bell go.
They're not going anywhere in the AFC East.
Dude, Bell might
well,
go to
actually,
New
I think the Jets have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah,
Jets-
they'd go for Bell.
Yeah,
The
they
Jets have been a
definitely-
potential landing
Bell-
spot for Bell for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bell would be happy in New York too.
Yeah,
He's been
big stages.
yes, and it's not quite as big as the Giants.
So here's my question, right? If
never
the
been.
goal for Denver should be to rebuild, then why are you potentially trading for an upgrade at quarterback?
It's a placeholder.
Right.
You
Is
don't
it,
want to suck.
I
There's
think-
a difference.
I think that Case
They
Keenum
didn't
was
suck.
also
That's
a
my problem. Is
placeholder.
they didn't suck last year.
They have the 10th overall pick. Like Denver has the 10th
They were
overall
they
pick.
were an actually scrappy team last year. That's the thing people forget is they weren't terrible.
They have a good running game.
yeah.
I'll give you that.
They still have
Phillips
they,
is
They
good.
have
they still
Emmanuel
have-
Sanders.
They still have good pieces on defense.
They have
Yeah.
Von Miller. They have Bradley Roby's a free agent, but they have guys. They still have Brandon Marshall. They have good defensive
That's
pieces.
my problem is the optics of a team that is theoretically supposed to be rebuilding because you're obviously not a contender right now. Is why do you give up draft capital to trade for a marginal upgrade at an older quarterback for a lot of money a year when you're already paying someone 18 mil this year?
Well,
That's my question. That's the reason I don't like the trade.
Unless
could
they're
be-
trying to get rid of Case.
it
Then
could,
who's
it could be
no one's gonna take Case.
It could be Yankee logic, and by that I mean
Minnesota
like
might.
you bring
No.
in. So, like I said, it could be the Yankee logic where you bring in old guy names just because you want, or well, actually no, it's actually both kind of Yankee logic and former athletic logic. So before Billy Bean, where they would sign these washed up guys to put on their season tickets to give like some kind of false hope, because there's always some kind of hope around Joe Flacco that I've noticed. Is that
'cause
because
he's
he's
a
a
playoff
Super Bowl
legend.
MVP, because he's a former Super Bowl MVP.
Well,
Yeah,
his
that-
his playoff record is amazing. I didn't
2012
know how
run
good
is-
it was until it got shoved down my throat yesterday.
Really, you didn't know how good his 2012 run was?
No. His playoff
Oh, his
record.
playoff record? Yeah, it's immaculate.
He's lost like 2 away games.
It's actually incredible how good
Wow.
he is, and he
Yeah.
murders the Patriots too. Is the really really bizarre part.
I love Patriots players. There's a few out there, and they're so good.
So that's kind of like what I think the logic is behind there. Is like, yeah, we're not doing well, as a franchise, but we're gonna bring in guys
I mean,
that
but
you
you're
know
right.
and
Who would
can
you rather see on a
recognize.
ticket, Case Keenum or Joe Flacco?
No, here's my
Right.
question: who would I
Flacco.
rather see on a ticket, Joe Flacco or Antonio Brown?
Who are you getting hype for? First of all,
Look at it
if you want AB, you're not getting him for a 4th round draft pick.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's
They
so,
want a first
So
round for
here's
him.
what I'm saying:
and
is
Case Keenum is gonna never throw the ball right to him.
That's what I'm
All
saying.
right.
Like Case Keenum's gonna overthrow and underthrow him just because like you watched it all season long. Like I
He
did.
consistently overthrew everyone
They
when
almost
they were open. It was
beat-
ridiculous.
They almost beat Kansas City on Monday Night Football, but he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders and they lost that game.
He did it like 3 times in that Raiders game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last Sunday Night Football game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That
Like,
shouldn't.
Yeah,
No.
but that was when I kind of gave up on
Listen,
him.
I think the trade's pointless. Ultimately, it's a terrible trade, and I wouldn't.
Also,
do it
I
in a
hope
heartbeat.
we continue to find something to talk about in football week after week because this is the only really sport where I'm very useful. The other ones I'm
Fair
not.
enough.
Really,
Wanna
you
move
don't
on
like,
to Cleveland?
What?
Wanna
yeah,
move
we
on to
move on to
Cleveland?
Cleveland signing Kareem Hunt.
Oh yeah, I forgot
And-
about that.
Now, first, do you want to talk about it from a football point of view or a personal point of view?
Well, I'm going to talk about it from a personal point of view
I
because
know-
with Kareem Hunt, it's
yeah.
inextricable from the football point of view, which is to say this is terrible optics for Cleveland, and a lot of the reason.
It's Dorsey's thing. Though.
Yeah,
was
that
gonna
was
say,
yeah, it was just
It's
Don
to be
Dorsey
expected.
because apparently had a good relationship with Kareem Hunt. He was the player that he drafted when he was in Kansas City.
And he's
Um,
also drafted other guys with troubled backgrounds.
Tyreek
Gordon.
Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, well, he inherited Josh Gordon.
Well, yeah, but he dealt with him for a few years.
I mean,
He didn't. He
a
you
year
know,
or two.
it was like
1
2.
year.
Yeah. Didn't he just get? The
Yeah, he just
Cleveland
he
job?
took over Sashi Brown last year.
That's right. So, but
Oh,
I think that he has this like uncharacteristically willingness as an owner to take on problems
As a GM, yeah.
as a GM. Yeah. So I'm not shocked at all by the move. I was shocked
I
from
kind of am.
from a football standpoint. I am surprised given their running game with Nick Chubb.
Yeah, you have Chubb already, and it's like running backs are replaceable as hell. So why do you?
I'm shocked on that point, but I think what they're gonna do, they're gonna use him as a Duke Johnson role pass catcher on third
Yeah, I
He's
down.
a
I
good
think-
pass catcher.
Yeah, he's a really good balanced
you
running
should
back.
line him up.
Yeah,
I mean, but we've also seen
you could put him
two
in a
running
split
back,
back formation.
like a
Yeah.
two tandem running back work.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
that's
They
it.
work
Every-
really well.
everyone
Look at
pl-
New England.
Yeah.
Everyone
Now they
platoons
have
now.
3.
In New Orleans, I mean,
Yeah.
when you
Every-
can platoon your running
And
game
Carolina 2 years ago.
effectively,
Great
Mhm.
example.
Carolina's gonna get back there. I think they know. I think everyone
and
knows now.
it's more
think
than
they
just
have
like
to.
a third down back.
You have
Like
to-
you can
Mhm.
put
Christian
Chubb
McCaffrey's
or Hunt
godly,
out there,
but
whatever
then you
down
don't
you
know.
Well,
want.
that's what I'm saying. Like you make it a split back formation. You have one go out to the right, and then you can send Chubb up the middle for a turnaround post. I don't know. It is what it is. But from a football standpoint, anytime you add a guy like Kareem Hunt, who at one point did lead the league in rushing,
Yeah,
it's not a bad move.
yeah. It's just the question
It's
is,
just- it's
why
a
do you
PR
why do you take that
question.
PR nightmare of hey, look at all this really heinous stuff that Kareem Hunt did. I know you're connected to him, and I know you think he's redeemable, but it's like as an organization that's trying to rebrand itself from being like a perennially awful
They
franchise.
were a joke.
The
You're,
thing
you're
is-
actually the biggest joke in professional sports, and it's not close.
What I'm looking for,
I would
like not
argue the
forward to,
Knicks.
but
No,
the-
I think they're a bigger joke than the Knicks. At least the Knicks had a period of time where they were competitive with Carmelo.
Yeah.
They actually had pull.
They
This
got ousted
happened
in the
in-
second round.
February. So we still have the draft to go.
Mm-hmm.
We will see if Cleveland does anything this offseason. But
Well,
when training camp comes in August, these are the questions that are going to be asked.
Yeah,
They're not going to
Definitely.
ask about Baker's development. They're not going to ask about their draft pick. They're not going to ask about new coaching. They're going to ask about Kareem Hunt.
Right. And how he's
And-
fitting in with their system.
and
Um,
also about why you decided to actually bother signing him when you could get another running back
And
off
at
the
this point,
street.
it's going to be 6 months removed, and they're still going to be talking
Yeah.
about it.
And
Mhm.
here's the biggest thing: is what is he going to give you that's not necessarily replaceable by another running back?
I think Kareem
Okay,
Hunt
you're
had a
talking-
star value. I think you're
Yeah.
kind of downplaying.
Well,
I agreed to an extent that with today's NFL,
He's
running
really
backs
darn good.
running backs are
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's fantastic,
sort of
but it's just like
replaceable,
it's.
but
I don't think the production that he gives you is worth
he
the PR nightmare that
has-
you get for a young team that's trying to redefine its image.
it hurt Kansas City.
There were some times
They dropped off.
specifically when
He's a
Alex
big
Smith
presence.
was the quarterback at Kansas City and Kareem Hunt was the focal point of that offense. There were multiple times watching them play. I was like, this kid's a stud. This
Yeah.
kid from Toledo is a stud.
He's unbelievable. We basically knew that his first game.
But you're making it sound like he's like every other cog running back.
no, that's my
Ah.
my
he's
problem.
like an
is,
Isaiah Crowell.
My
which he's not.
problem is that you could just use another cog running back, and you're not going to get the same production.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But,
But
it
it's
could be the
just-
same thing. Like that the Browns are kind of like, okay, well we have this very young team. It's like a buy low.
I get
You
that's the
know?
thing is I don't understand why you're continuing. So look, the NFL has this really terrible optics issue with how it
Oh, yeah.
handles like
And it's-
domestic violence
It
and
still
stuff, right?
does.
And so to be clear, Kareem Hunt is not off the commissioner's exempt list.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was about
He
to
is
bring that
not
up.
eligible to play yet. If
Mhm.
he is removed from the commissioner's exempt list, he'll be handed a suspension, likely suspended
Yeah,
for
it'd be
a
6
year.
games. 6 games.
6
is
games.
is
That's right.
the-
Yeah, I
is
forgot
the
what it was.
DE
He
standard.
should be suspended for a year.
How
But
long was Zeke?
Zeke was 6
yeah,
games.
Zeke- no,
but they postponed his 6
it was
games
8
Yeah.
until
6,
the
wasn't
last
it?
year. No, they
No, it was
postponed
6.
his 6 until the last 6 weeks of the season.
And especially if this turns into like one of those situations. Not that it shouldn't turn into one of those situations because if he gets back, he will get suspended. But just
Right. Oh yeah.
the
duh.
cloud that's going to follow Cleveland throughout the year.
Well, that's the best part is that it's just going to be for this year, and then eventually, if he plays up to his potential, that we know what he's capable of, we're all going to forget.
And
I mean, I'm not saying we
and-
all as I'm just saying like the collective media, they're going to forget, and they're gonna be like, wow, what a nice buy low. It's the
No
same
one-
thing
Well,
about them drafting
and-
Tyreek.
yeah, no one brings
late.
up Tyreek anymore. Joe Mixon got lost in the dust too.
Exactly. It's just how we are. We
And
push, we
Cleveland-
repress things.
Cleveland doesn't have 1-year goals.
No, not at all.
They have 5-year goals.
Yeah.
Their 7-win season was ahead of schedule. They're very much like what the Phillies were last year in
Felt
the
pretty
major
on
leagues.
schedule actually.
Huh?
Felt kind of on schedule actually, but
No way.
No.
I,
I
had
think- I
them-
think that was a
I
little-
I didn't
a
have
little-
them winning 7.
I might have been
games.
optimistic.
I had them winning 4 games at most
I
last year.
had them winning.
I just think when
Actually,
you
I did have
have
them winning 7, didn't I? We talked about it on the podcast.
yeah, Austin and I think both thought they were.
I'm a stud.
I just think
Um,
when you have a young
due for a
team like
really big
Cleveland
uptick
does,
in
especially
production.
with a young quarterback, and we know how
New head
Baker can
coach.
act around the media.
A better coach.
I just if it works out for Cleveland from a football standpoint, it is a good move. But we've seen how like media problems can kind of unravel the young team, and I mean I guess we'll just have to see.
Mhm.
But when we should be talking about Cleveland's new coach and Baker, we're going to be talking about Kareem Hunt for like the entire year.
I think Baker's kind of a big enough star where he can take a lot of that like headline flack, especially after like the first 6 weeks, depending on how he's playing. Because then if Cleveland comes out and starts out the season 0-6, which is unlikely, I don't
it's
know
not
what their
gonna happen.
schedule. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but because they haven't released them yet, but. Depending on what those games are, if they start out the season like 0-6, when Kareem Hunt comes back, then yeah, he's going to be the focal point because that's like an
0-6.
intriguing storyline.
What
But if they start off
right?
like if they started at a good like 3-3 and Baker looks like a stud like he did last year, there's reason to believe that those headlines are going to be more overbearing, especially in Ohio.
what NFC division are they playing?
Well, they're in AFC.
That's a good
Oh,
question.
this season.
That would make the world.
Well,
of
last year they played the NFC South.
which sucked. That's a tough one.
I think they play the West then. I think it rotates clockwise.
That's not as bad.
Are you
They
sure?
are playing against
Oh wait, that's bad.
they're playing against the West. Yeah.
Oh, look at
Actually, no,
that.
that's better than the South was.
They get
The South, those 4 teams were really good last year.
What?
Yes.
not Tampa,
The
Compared to
same NFC
Cleveland.
South?
not
Oh, wait.
Tampa.
That
Oh,
NFC
wait.
South, the one
Yeah,
with the
never mind.
Bucks and the Falcons.
They were
and the
supposed to be
Panthers.
good.
Yeah, they were supposed to be a lot better than they were.
Yeah, but on top of that, but with the West you get.
I don't know. Maybe the
Arizona.
Rams will suck this year or something.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing: it's the Niners are expected to be a lot better because then I have Garoppolo healthy for ideally the whole year.
Oh, they waited for Garcon. Did you see that today?
That's so. Please come back to DC.
What was that?
They waived Pierre Garcon.
Please come
Yeah.
back to DC. Please, please. I miss you so much, Pierre.
I like him. He's likable.
He's so great.
He's
a,
likable.
He's a very good run blocking wide
Like
receiver, by the
IT.
way. No, but the Niners are expected to be better considering they have Garoppolo back for a whole year. They'll have added more pieces.
I didn't realize he's only 32.
Yeah. The Seahawks are gonna still continue to do their like retooling thing. I don't know what they're doing. They're a lot better than I think they probably should be. And then the Rams still figured to be incredibly good.
Yeah,
So
the Seahawks again ahead of schedule.
The problem with the Seahawks is their O line.
the problem with this, the counterpoint to
time to
that
fix
is
it.
Russell Wilson is apparently so good that it actually doesn't matter somehow.
However, I mean,
They have running backs now, so
yeah, I
it's
mean,
a different
They
game.
also-
they have Chris Carson.
They need to get a better play caller. That's the biggest thing. Is they need to get a better
Well, they have a
play
defensive
caller.
head coach. Their
Yeah.
offensive coordinator, I couldn't even tell you who he is.
I don't
which
remember who it
believe
is.
a problem.
I don't remember who it is. I knew very briefly.
Well, who's the other?
Uh,
It's Chris Carson and who's the second guy? He's good.
Rashad Penny.
No,
That was such a bad first round
yes,
draft pick.
yes.
By the way, Rashard Penny was all kind of like that sleeper draft hype, and then when Seattle drafted him, I was like, wow, you
I don't know. Like it's
overreached.
weird, but here's the thing: it's like every team evaluates players differently, right?
Well, now they have a decent tandem. They have a decent.
Yeah, but there were other. They could have taken Sony Michelle. They could have taken Nick Chubb.
Well,
Right.
okay,
They could
Sony
have taken
Michelle.
Darius Geis.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Sony Michelle.
they could have taken Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah,
There were 4 running backs that are better than him, and
Yeah,
Darius
questionably
Geis
better.
didn't even touch the ball
Last
last
year-
year.
Last year was such an offensively stacked. team.
Wow.
That was Grayson's fault. Philip Lindsay also.
Okay, bro.
Philip Lindsay's also
We
better
have
than
a-
Rashard
Yeah.
Penny.
Okay. Let's not bring his name into this because that was that was unique. But that last year was so stacked offensively.
Yeah,
And that this
was
year we
really
got a defensively stacked
Yeah.
draft. I love it.
Yeah.
If you look at the projections for the first round, it's hilarious.
They're just no.
It's
'cause
just
they're-
D
there's-
line. It's
well,
just D line.
It's also funny because there's like aside from the top like maybe 5 picks, the rest of all the you look at all the drafts,
Crapshoot.
it's everywhere.
It's a crapshoot.
I've seen it's literally everywhere.
It's gonna be
it's
a fun draft. I'm
ridiculous.
looking forward to it.
I am
Speaking of
so
drafts,
excited.
a player that was actually recently drafted and is declaring for the draft, we're going to Kyler Murray now.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about this
Yeah.
briefly. We should probably move on. To
Who decided
baseball in a
full
minute.
time that he wants to be a football player. He's pulling his name out.
Yeah. He's not going to attend Oakland spring training,
No.
which I kind of figured he wasn't.
I believe
going
he's also
to.
returning some of the signing bonus that he got from the A's.
He,
$1 million.
he-
Almost all of it.
He
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah,
He didn't
Million.
he didn't out of the
it
5.
was like 80%, I believe.
Out of the 5, he wasn't given 3 million because I believe he had to start in rookie ball to get that,
Yeah.
or it was go to spring training to fully claim that. He's giving back 100 or giving back 1.2 already, and then I think he gets to keep like
300K or something. If I can
like
remember correctly.
300 400K. So congratulations, you really
Smart
wasted
move.
their time.
That's a-
Oakland gets
mean-
to keep his draft rights in case things don't work out.
Yeah, but they're not going to get comp to pick for it,
no, yeah, they don't.
which that feels really bad.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
real feel
He
bad
made
to
he
check.
made the right move.
They also
He wants to be a star.
They
That's-
also really had to weigh that option when they drafted him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is
so
you took that risk, and you
Yeah.
decided to let him play football.
That's the
I mean,
thing.
you
That's
and
what
I-
killed them the
You
most.
and I had a pretty long conversation about this one time where Kyler Murray just he wants to jump right
Yeah.
into the rotation.
He
That's
doesn't
not
want to
gonna
play.
happen.
He has no intention of playing
What
rookie
I
ball
think
or
about
single.
Kyler Murray is, for one, I don't think he's a first round draft pick in baseball.
No, well, that's what they had said before, that he was a late first round pick.
And the thing is with Kyler Murray, especially after all this, let's say he had chosen baseball. It's kind of like the Tebow effect, where no matter what happened, like no matter what his performance is, he's going to get followed by the media because it's Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Heisman winner.
especially
It's a different level than
no,
Tebow,
but I think early on he's going to have more success in football than in baseball. Because
Mhm.
let's say he shows up to rookie ball and bats like 250, which
Mhm.
could very well happen because he's not that great of a baseball player.
Well, I think if anybody warrants a top 2 round draft pick in Major League Baseball draft, that warrants that they would normally thrive in rookie ball. I get it that it doesn't normally that's not like a given, but nothing in sports is a given. So, I mean, there are so many rounds in that
Yeah.
draft that you're playing with guys that are drafted in like the 29th round. You're playing against guys that were the best player on their community college.
Yeah, and
team.
you're
Yeah.
right. But I think if he were to struggle in baseball, I think people would be more like critique him more than if
Mhm.
he were to struggle his first year in football.
Yeah,
'Cause I think people would point that to, oh, he's a rookie in the NFL. Whereas if he were to struggle in the minor leagues in baseball, I think people would talk about how he made the wrong move.
right. And I think that narrative's going to follow him for the rest of his life. I think.
You're right,
And
especially early on.
I don't think that he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. I think that Haskins is pretty better, is considerably better than him.
Do you think he could be a
Uh,
top 10 pick?
No, because I don't think Jacksonville's that desperate. Like, I know on paper they should be.
I think they are.
I just think that they could eat. Like, I don't know. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not really too sold on the Giants taking Dwayne Haskins.
I don't think they will.
Which
Where are
is
they picking
crazy.
again?
They're picking 6th, and then Jacksonville picks 7th. So it's like,
here's the thing. It's like I don't think they should be the 6th or 7th overall pick in the draft. The problem is how QBs maybe
Well,
get valued.
right. So,
Yeah.
but what I'm thinking is that, like, Haskins is probably going to go to Jacksonville. That's what I have
Okay,
in
so
my
you
mock.
think Haskins go to Jacksonville? You think Drew Lock goes
And I
off the board before Kyler Murray?
No, I think Drew Lock. I think it'll be Haskins. Haskins, Murray, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones are probably going to be neck and neck with each other.
Okay.
Daniel Jones from Duke.
Well, because we talked about when Will Greer announced he wasn't
Mhm.
going to draft, how much that helped Dwayne Haskins.
Oh, definitely.
I think-
yeah, when Herbert, when you're talking about Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert.
When Herbert decided to
Yeah.
stay, that's another thing too. Like a team like the Giants, for instance, that have Eli Manning and can scathe by, having him under center next season.
We're calling that skating by.
I mean, yeah, like
Really?
because he's not. There's a reason that they have the 6th overall pick, right?
Yeah, it's Eli.
It's Eli's, but look at the QB class next year. You have Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah,
You have
Justin
you have
Herbert.
Justin Herbert, and you have Jake Fromm from Georgia. So those are those are three quarterbacks that are better than.
3 in the top 15 most likely.
I would
probably top
argue
10.
that all three of those are going to be drafted. Would be drafted this year above Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, potentially Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that's just how it is. Like they're ballers. Like I can't like even Tagovailoa like baller.
Yeah, no, Tua's. I think Tua got lost a little bit with all the Trevor Lawrence hype.
So given that, if you're the Giants and you have no presence on defense aside from Landon Collins, who's a free agent this year or next year, I think he's restricted this year, maybe potentially, if not next year. Regardless, you have no defensive identity. Why not draft like an Ed Oliver at 6 overall or Dexter Lawrence or Salin Farrell?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen's going 2nd overall.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but yeah, like even if he falls, why wouldn't you? That's my thing is like there's so many talented defensive players, and since you don't have that JPP character or OCU Manure character or Justin Tuck character
Wow,
on your
we're
team,
going way back.
I'm throwing it back, buddy. You need somebody in there. You need somebody to fill that gap. You can live with having Eli as your quarterback for one more year. I
They
think.
still did shell out a ton of money for Janoris Jenkins and Olivier Vernon.
Yeah. How's that working out? You know what I mean?
Will Greer declared for the draft.
Yeah,
He's not even like the projected top 5.
Yeah.
For his position.
Right.
It's
It's
funny.
yeah. He's an interesting guy.
I don't know why he did that, but
Yeah.
I don't understand why he missed the bowl game.
Yeah.
I don't know when he'll go. He'll go late. He'll get drafted, but it'll be late.
But that's what I'm thinking is that the Jacksonville Jaguars would be the ideal fit for Dwayne Haskins. But going back to Kyler, I think that it does matter about fit. So if he gets picked like Mel Kiper has by the Dolphins at 11, that's a good fit for him because he has a chance to sit behind Ryan Tannehill. I know that's not what he wants, but at the same time, that team's sort of rebuilding. They have
Boo-hoo.
Laramie Tunsil. They have a younger core. They have Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker. They have pieces that he can go in and be successful. And in Miami market, you can still be the star that you want to be.
the Dolphins are a prestige franchise too.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I think Todd McShay actually has, or Pro Football Focus has in their mock, they have Washington taking Kyler, which isn't ideal.
Whack.
Which isn't ideal because Alex Smith is hurt, but it's Washington.
Alex Smith's
they
timeline
always
is so far off in the future that I don't think he can afford to plan around it.
Washington historically always gives into the hype. That's RG3. Like they always give into
Do
the
y'all
hype.
remember what they gave up for RG3?
A lot.
They gave 3 firsts.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking is that Kyler Murray's probably going to go in the teens, if not to Miami, then probably to Washington at like 17.
Yeah, I think they picked 17 this year, if I
So-
remember correctly.
That's
15. But
I think
It's semantics,
I think that we all kind of agree that we don't wish any ill will on Kyler Murray. And
think-
I at first I was kind of peeved because I think baseball really needed a win this offseason and they didn't get it
No,
at all.
you flipped quick.
So
baseball's going to a lockout.
that's the thing is just like
in
baseball
2021.
baseball really needed a win this offseason, and with Kyler not going, basically telling them no, like your sport's boring, I guess, or it's not big enough of a platform for me. It really hurts their brand, and Rob Manfred can only do so much. Like he can't go to Las Vegas and say, "Bryce, please, for the love of God."
Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to go to Kyler Murray's house and just start throwing like blank checks on the ground trying to get Kyler to
Could
play
be-
baseball?
Could be a Blake Griffin situation.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Or
they sent-
DeAndre Jordan situation.
Yeah, they hold him hostage until you agree to sign.
Yeah, so that's kind of like so. But I changed my stance because he does have the right as an athlete to choose, and while I wanted him to go one way, he's going the other way.
I think there's going to be a
which-
lot of talk about whether Kyler made the right choice or not by choosing football over baseball. And I think
Right.
the thing we fail to realize is that the right choice is whatever choice Kyler thinks is best for him.
Exactly, and he genuinely thinks that being a quarterback is the right path for him.
It's what he
and
wants to
you
do.
know
And you know
what?
what? Yeah, that's
know
fine.
what?
Good luck
Probably more fun.
to him.
Speaking
Yeah.
of baseball, you want to
Yeah.
Good luck.
talk
Fair.
about that for the last 6 minutes?
Aaron Nola signed a big extension, actually. Oh, kind of big extension.
Yeah, and Grayson actually had a really good point. So for 4 years, you're getting him for 11 plus.
11.25
Yeah, 11.25 mil
for
for
a
your
Cy Young
for I
candidate.
was gonna say
Yeah.
for your Cy Young candidate.
That's
That's, a great.
It's an
deal.
incredible budget deal, and it's actually unreal.
That is a great deal. Now the problem is when he wins the Cy Young and holds out for more money, that's gonna
Then,
be an
then it
issue.
looks bad, yeah.
And that's not really a problem when you have Max Scherzer. In
It's a big.
I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a big if, but you never can put it past him.
Andy
Anyway,
Brown.
I think it's a great move. They needed a win like that because it's looking like they're not going to get Bryce or Manny Machado at this point. They did get Segura though, so
I don't know,
Yeah.
There's I wouldn't
and
count him out on
Andrew
Bryce.
McCutcheon. Well,
I still think there's
And
two,
Real
that's-
Muto.
that's where I was. Yeah,
there-
Realmuto.
there's two teams in on Bryce, in my opinion, and that's Washington and Philadelphia.
Well, the only thing that's keeping San Francisco out of the conversation is that they can only
They won't
offer
commit.
him. They can only offer him a short-term deal.
Yeah.
They can only offer him 4 or 5 years.
He's not going to San Francisco. Machado might. I think he'll run at the money
Well-
right now, but
well-
Bryce wants security.
Machado had a meeting today
With
with
San
San
Diego.
Diego. We'll see what happens there. There's a fit there. Him and Fernando Tatis, who's not in the league yet, but will be eventually, that has potential to be a godly left side of the infield because they'll probably have Manny at third. That has a lot of potential, and if he's smart, that should be really appealing to him, especially because they have Hausmer and Will Myers.
How much do you think position is going to play
And
in
Francisco Mejia.
Machado's decision?
No, I don't think it will.
I-
I think he's
Well, 'cause he
okay
talked
playing.
He
about
left.
how
wanted to be a
much-
shortstop
Yeah,
so
he
bad
wa-
last
really
season.
wanted to play shortstop last year.
I think he's fine.
But I think that if a team's willing to give him $300 million, he's going to play wherever they tell him to play. It's more of the money at this point for him than it is position because last year he knew he's like, it's the last year of my contract. I want to prove my worth.
Like,
And
if it
he
were to
was a
come
better
down,
third baseman than he is a shortstop. That's
he's
what
a phenomenal third baseman.
he's a phenomenal shortstop too, but
Yeah.
but statistically he has a better glove at third base, and I think he knows that
Like, if
too.
it were to come down to
but he
the
just
White
won.
Sox and the Padres, the money could be based the same. The years could be based the same. But let's say Chicago is like, we're going to put you at third, and San Diego's like, you can play short. Do you think that
for
would?
now.
Do you think that would play at all into his
Well,
decision?
I mean,
It
if it was
very
the
well
exact same
could.
deal, like I'd rather live in San Diego.
That's what I'm saying. It
I
very
would
well
take
could.
$0 to live in anywhere that isn't Chicago.
Especially after this winter.
Yeah, you kidding me?
Good mic etiquette.
You couldn't pay me to live off Lake Michigan after
hey,
this
Puig,
winter.
So you gotta remember, guys, is that Manny Machado's from Florida. He loves warm weather.
Yeah.
San Diego's not.
San Diego's very warm.
It's not that warm.
It's
It's like 70s.
Floridian.
No, it's not.
70s is pretty good.
How are you gonna say San Diego's not warm?
I'm gonna say it's not Floridian. Florida's hot.
Oh.
There's a difference.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's humid
mean,
in
it's-
Florida.
You know,
I love it
yeah,
though. I
no.
love it down there.
San Diego's nice and cool. Cool evenings with that
Cool.
breeze.
It's a cool
Anyway, so
city.
could someone keep
I've
track
never
of-
been out to the
Pacific.
West Coast, bro.
Hey, guys,
Don't know.
back on track. Come on. Someone tell me how far we are from spring training.
It
Well,
was
pitchers and catchers
today.
reported today.
Okay, yeah, but what about hitters?
It's like next
Position
week.
players next
I
week?
keep doing that. I'm sorry, y'all.
Next
and
week,
I
right?
believe that last I checked,
if not the week after.
since we
I
were
think it is
talking,
next week.
Manny and Bryce haven't signed yet.
Yeah, I don't care.
I feel like they're not gonna sign until spring training actually starts.
Yeah, not
So
till
at
the
what point do
games.
we start to realize that the free agent process and the way teams
It's-
are building
the
right now is
same-
A month
fundamentally
ago.
broken?
It's-
Really?
month,
So you
yeah.
think we definitely pass it now, or we're
Yeah.
done
it-
sort of thing with the illusion that
Do-
there's not something
Doolittle-
irreparably
Sean
wrong?
Doolittle has been a big voice on it for like 2 months now,
Mhm.
and Scherzer said all that stuff today about it, which I
Yeah.
feel like it's a really significant step in terms of players speaking out about it.
Right.
That's a big voice.
Well,
who's-
yeah.
who's given credit.
And on
to
top
it.
of that, we had Justin Verlander and another one. I cannot remember who it is. I,
I
think
mean,
it's Garrett Cole. I
and
think it
every
might have been
single
Garrett
pundit.
Cole.
Maybe it was Aaron Nola.
It might have been Aaron Nola, but they were like this writer from some MLBreference.com or something like that. They had posted about how it's a flawed system and how the players are being greedy, that kind of a thing. And Justin Verlander basically responded back, and he was like, "It's not us. It is us, but it's not us because we only deal with the cards that were dealt by by the hands."
it's a broken system.
And he's like, yeah, it's because they want to lowball us, and we're not worth lowballing.
Well,
we are the best baseball players in the
yeah,
world.
it's
And there's only ever a couple. The big problem that people are starting to talk out about is like it's only ever like max 10 teams trying to win.
Yeah. Yeah, every other
that's
team-
That's what a lot of players are really
You got
frustrated.
your
about.
mid-ground teams, and then you got your like
Your tankers.
Astros, your future Astros.
This is the one
yeah.
thing. This is the one thing I don't like about tanking, and it's something I'm a big proponent of. Is if you're not competing, you're rebuilding. The problem is when
You waste,
when 2/3 of your league decides that they can't compete. That's when we start getting a really
which
bad
is what
product.
baseball is.
That's what baseball is. Teams are cutting costs because they're not winning because they don't want to spend money to not win, right? Which means they're
Mhm.
not offering contracts. They're lowballing. They're keeping players in the minors so they don't have to pay them their big, paydays for hitting their games played tally by a certain point in their
We gotta
contract
go.
or whatever. Anyway,
NASCAR
baseball is going to go
Yeah.
to lockout in 2021. They got to fix this, otherwise their sport might be doomed.
So
NASCAR
a
fact.
NASCAR fact is that Chevy has dominated Daytona, which isn't really a surprise to most people. But
not to me.
last year, out of the 36 races, Toyota won 13, Ford won 19, Chevy won 4. So Chevy has seen a huge drop off in speed recently with the new Camaro. But one of the races they won last year was Daytona, and the single car speed. They have won 6 of the last 6 of the last Daytona 500 poles and 10 out of the 11. So I think it's interesting with all the changes in NASCAR because they change the cars every year.
Yeah,
The Chevy has taken a huge decline in speed, but they're still dominant at Daytona.
that's so weird. Any idea why that might be?
They have a great aerodynamics package, and Hendrick engines are awesome.
All right, cool. See you next week, guys. Have a good
I
Valentine's
had
Day.
like 10 more numbers to go over, but we're gonna
Discounted candy
It's all good.
tomorrow.
Yeah, discounted candy. Go cop it. CVS.